Welcome to the UDP Broadcast, a podcast where a group of friends get together and discuss and offer informed and uninformed opinions about the gaming industry and the goings-on thereof. I'm Luminary, and I'm accompanied today by my hosts, Jaime, the Eternal Barcode.
Hello.
From the Emerald Dream, Crit Chicken.
Heck.
And from Club Redeemer, we have Bomb Redeemer. Hey, found the sound effects. Well,
I did.
It's been an interesting week so far, and we've picked out Crunchy Historian Awards. Well, we'll find out about that here in just a second. Sit back, enjoy the show, and figure out what the hell this is. So, before we go any further, there was some additional stuff going on with the Smash World Tour stuff that we covered last week, and Jaime did some digging on it, and I'm going to go ahead and let Jaime talk about the things that he found.
Well, essentially, what's going on is Panda Global, the people that were sort of half sponsoring and half kind of involved with the original Smash World Tour, they've parted ways with their CEO rather abruptly, and apparently it has something to do with the fact that weeks before the Smash World Tour was going on, the CEO of Panda Global kept on telling everybody else who was involved, who had been trying to join up with the tournament through Smash World Tour. Apparently, he had been going around telling them that it's going to fail. You're wasting your money. Why the fuck would you bother? You should be pairing up with us instead. So basically, sabotaging, Smash World Tour. That got out, and Panda Global has now said, "Well, fuck you." And they have fired him. So that's kind of a big change from last week when it was, we thought it was a licensing issue because all indications is that it was a licensing issue, that, Smash World Tour didn't have the right license before the start. So it was just sort of a complete shock. But, I mean, as it happens, every now and then you side with the wrong people. In this case, it was the wrong people we sided with, because Smash World Tour was the ones who got completely shafted, as it was, like I said, discovered their CEO was intentionally trying to sabotage everything.
Yeah,
So that's super shitty.
Looking at the stuff they had, it looked like they just placed him directly in the airlock and just opened it.
Yeah, just fucked him right over and said, nope.
Yeah. But
Acting kind of sus, bro.
Indeed. Yeah, it seems that the rest of the committee had put together an interim management team, or an IMT, to act as the CEO for Pandas. And one of the coolest things that came out of that was they plan on they had to postpone one of their tournaments, so they plan on doing refunds and whatnot, which is kind of cool.
So it's kind of like a better business model than what happened with Quiznos. Gotcha.
Ooh.
I'm not privy on what happened to Quiznos. Do you mind
I'll
elaborating?
show you all about it later. Oh my god.
Oh,
Nothing good.
Speaking of Quiznos, have you seen their terrible mouse commercial?
What?
Yep, I grew up with it.
Ugh.
Quit your job. We
Quit
got
your
a salad
job.
bar.
No.
Oh, it's so bad.
That is...
It is awful.
That's beyond turbo cringe.
Sorry.
That's like mega epic super turbo cringe.
Yeah, I was deep diving into what happened. I was deep diving, and I was also talking to my coworkers about it. The rise and fall of Kmart and the rise and fall of Quiznos. So I'll set you up with that, Lumi, later.
That sounds great. I look forward to that. That's always interesting reads. So, Crunchy Historian Awards. Well, needless to say, we're not going to give away any awards for any historians that may or may not be crunchy. But
I mean, are they ketchup flavored?
oh, crunchy ketchup. It's not like crunchy peanut butter. I don't even want to know.
I mean,
Sounds
everything
Looks
in
like
the past is pretty much crunchy by now
Crunchy
anyway,
peanut
right?
butter is good.
Exactly.
Well, the crunch part of this is coming from the Callisto protocol by Striking Distance Studio. It sounds like their CEO had let loose some tweets after a very difficult reception by the community because on high-end PCs, it was getting garbage frame rates in places where it shouldn't get garbage frame rates. And effectively sent out tweets saying, "Oh, this was just a clerical error. Someone was in a rush," so forth and so on, which made the internet kind of do some sleuthing and see where he'd done some other things. As far as like what he was talking about without mentioning crunch, it just kind of alluded to what it is they were doing because this industry that we're talking about is plagued with it when it comes to deadlines. So let's talk about that for a second. What is crunch? I mean, what's crunch?
Crunch is the act of being stupid. I mean, yeah, no, it's being stupid. Basically, video game designers are notorious for this, and that's why more and more game companies are finding their employees unionizing because crunch is the thought that, hey, now that we've set a really improbable deadline, now that it's coming up, we've really got to ship to market. Let's make and convince everybody that working 20-hour days and sleeping at your desk and having no life outside of, programming and QA and design and all that shit is the greatest thing ever because you should just be so happy to be in the games industry. And to that I say, go fuck your hat with a steel shovel.
Indeed.
Yeah, Blizzard Entertainment was actually a big thing about that too. Especially if you noticed too, that Dragonflight was originally supposed to launch December 29th, but it got pushed forward to, well, this month.
Yeah, it's pure trash that companies do this because all it does is cause you to get burnt right the fuck out. And the people who do want to stay end up getting so burnt out from, working that they just end up they just end up stopping playing any sort of a game for a little while. And, as someone who plays video games all the time, I can't imagine not wanting to play them. But at the same time, reading about what some of these designers and games industry people have said from being on the receiving end of this whole crunch bullshit, I can totally understand why they would just say fuck it and walk away from their favorite games for a little bit. It's completely unfair because it's basically unwritten mandatory overtime. Like it's not something that's set in stone. It's not something that someone walks up to you and says, "Hey, you have to do this." But it's more coercion. Like, you're going to be a better team player if you come and do this, right? And that's completely bullshit.
It is.
Because under no circumstance should you ever be put in a position where you feel intimidated to the point of having to work overtime or having to do whatever. They entirely do that simply because they know they can get away with it, and without unionization and without unions to protect people with health and safety rules and proper working conditions, there's no incentive for employers to actually shut the fuck up and stop doing that. I remember a couple months ago there was a game that was being released, and the CEO took to Twitter to just brag about how everybody was working overtime, everybody was doing everything possible to get this game shipped, but at the same time, he was essentially saying it, everyone's going to do, everyone's going to crunch, everyone's going to be basically living at their desks for the next little while because, quote unquote, they love it. And it's like, no, dude, that's the wrong fucking take. Like, read the room.
It's the
That's
same
not
guy.
the right take. Oh, oh, he's an asshole.
It's the same
Like, he's
guy.
a complete fucking clown, and I'll be happy to say that.
Keep
Because Jesus goddamn Christ.
Well, keep in mind while we're talking about this, is like how terrible these practices are, and it's not. I mean, I'm not saying it would be wrong for any of us sitting in this room say, stop playing video games. It's contributing to crunch and whatnot. As my evoker hits 70 and you can hear it audibly. It's not one of those things. I say that I think a healthier developer would definitely contribute to a better game experience because they're not cutting corners.
Yes, there was we just talked about it not too long ago. I think it was around like episode 10 or 12 we talked about it. There was an all-women studio or a women-led studio, and they basically said, yeah, we're going to have our employees unionized. We can't wait to work with them. We've already shrunk working days in a week, working hours in a week, and that's the right call. Absolutely. Let people, you know, live their lives appropriately. Extend your deadlines if you have to. But at the same time, if you need to extend a deadline, I have to ask why you didn't plan your project properly with, you know, correct timelines, because crunch in theory should never happen unless your game has been significantly delayed by a number of years. In which case, I would find it somewhat okay at that point if you had to crunch. But even then, if you're pushing back timelines, just push it back further so you don't have to sit there crunching. Because
Take
that's
Star
hard on
Citizen
everybody,
as an
mentally and
example
physically.
of this. Take Star
Oh.
Citizen. I mean, it's only been over 10 years and almost $1 billion.
84 years.
In an alpha state.
In an alpha
Yeah,
state.
okay.
Well, but they've got something to show for it finally after 10 years, but, you know,
It's
it's
kind of like that Mario game that they ended up working on for so many years and then they just scrapped it.
oh, I didn't hear about this. Which one was it?
I have to look it up. I'm sorry. Yeah, they were working on some kind of game and they're like, yeah, we're gonna release it. We're gonna release it. They kept on getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and then finally it just got scrapped.
Oh, man.
It was like years ago for that. I was, like I said, I deep dive into different like little internet rabbit holes of history between games and different like I'm sorry, I should have been on the ball with that, but
That's fine.
like
It's all good.
but as far as like crunching goes, like part of the reason why I'm kind of like eyeballing the whole Blizzard thing in comparison to it is you have the crunch thing where they could have just extended it out for, you know, near New Year's or whatever and had all the stuff leading up to, you know, like an Advent thing or whatever for Christmas for the Twitch drops and stuff like that. But they wanted to drop the expansion within the time frames of the anniversary, which put a hindrance on like the world bosses that were spawned in the it's just it was at the wrong time, I felt. And not only that, it's like think about it this way, as soon as it dropped, there were still people griping on Twitter about, oh, we should have known that the servers were going to be down. That's the launch experience, blah, 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 blah. You know, just like totally shitting all over. Like, and
Sorry, go ahead.
just think of like how many people put a lot of time into working on the game and trying their best in this crunch period where they could have had it extended out over a month, for a whole another month to actually work and fine tune it and, class tuning and this and that because they're still nerfing things right now as it is. And, oh, the boats don't work and this doesn't work. Oh, the Dragonflight experience. And I'm like, dude, chill out.
Yeah. I tweeted about that actually a couple of weeks ago, or actually, I think the second day after launch or third day after launch with everyone complaining. Because what people don't realize is servers, bandwidth, hosting, data centers, power, cooling, floor plans, layouts, and all that shit costs a lot of goddamn money. And when these people sit here and complain that, the servers go down or this goes wrong or that goes wrong, I'm willing to bet that most of them have no concept of how server system like data centers work, how much power, dual redundant power supplies you have in a rack. So it's two different breakers going to each freaking rack, dedicated cooling, all that cost. Plus, then, of course, if you're going to try and do it so you have this massive capacity for launch day, well, basically what happens with any game is that on launch day you have this huge peak, this huge spike of users, and they're there for a little while. That that length of time will depend on the game, depend on the the fan base and all that stuff, and any newcomer. So that could be anywhere from like day, a week, a month, whatever. But eventually that number of users starts to drop, and it then stabilizes to your regular average number of users. So if you buy all this extra capacity, with data centers and power and cooling and racks of kit, now you've spent all this kind of money that you're never going to get a real return on that investment, because once that initial peak is over, now you've spent all this money and you're never going to fully realize the value of what you spent. And people just don't get it, and it's really, really, really annoying because people, there's only so much a company can do to prepare itself. And, it's easy enough to sit there and, sorry, I lost my train of thought. It's easy enough to sit there and know that, you've got X number of users on average, whatever. Uh, Sorry, I'm really, really distracted right now. My brain's not working.
That's fine. Just,
No,
just back
sorry.
burner it for a second. I mean,
Yeah, I can't think.
yeah,
My
just
brain
let
just
it.
melted.
Yeah, no, I was like, yeah,
Buffering.
I've done that so many times. It's
My
crazy.
brain needs to buffer.
But if you wanted to have a real world example of this, because not everybody's in tech, not everybody's a game developer, not everybody understands it. I think the biggest real world example that anybody can relate to is potentially all hands on deck situations. Like it'd be more miniature anything for game developers. It's months of grind of 10 to 16-hour days or more. But like Black Friday, for example.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell you all about that. I mean, between the stories, that's no problem. But behind the scenes, like with Amazon, when you're working with like airplanes and whatnot, there's a lot of crunch between juggling freight for the airplanes and also freight for the ground or the air to ground. So, I mean, Black Friday, you have all those sales going out for that after Thanksgiving, and it's like mandatory extra time, this and that and the other thing, and vacation freezes from November 24th to the 24th of December.
Yeah,
So
pretty
yeah,
much. Volume
crunch
of work
time.
increases, and it's overwhelming. I can't even imagine being at Amazon during this particular time of the year, where you still have to fit like what? What's the best analogy for this?
I think in a typical peak season, at least in a night, we move close to 200,000 pounds of product.
I thought it was like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. I think.
Something like that. I actually saved a couple hundred packages from missing their mark.
Right, and the game development's the same thing. It's like somebody does these heroic efforts. Oh, you almost committed the wrong thing, which is what this all comes down to. That Glen Schofield, of the CEO of Strike and Distance, was talking about was that it was a damn clerical error. Somebody committed the wrong file, so everybody was screwed, and he's upset about it, and that's fine. But some of the previous tweets, like Dimey was saying, is exhausted, tired, has COVID, but we're working. Lunch, dinner, working. You do it because you love it, and it was glorifying this culture that you must burn yourself to the ground to do a good job. Which in this particular case, it obviously didn't. It caused a mistake that made their launch garbage. But the good news is, he's saying, I'll take vacation when it's fixed. The fans are my priority. Now, my big question is he speaking for the team or is he actually speaking for him, considering he's running the studio?
Yeah, he loves this game so much and da-da-da-da-da, but I'll take vacation just so I don't have to oversee them actually fixing the game. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude's a fucking clown. Like, there's no other description for somebody who behaves like that. Just, dude, you're so out of touch with... Yeah, like it's the Benny Hill theme. Like, you're so out of touch with reality. Just go fuck yourself. Repeatedly with a shovel, please.
Fun fact, that song is called Yakety Sax.
Oh,
Yes.
no.
It
Well,
is.
it's sort of like the same thing in the factory that I work in. And I'm not saying any names or anything about it because I don't need that drama coming back to follow me to work. But with the amount of downtime that we have on even a single machine over the course of a week, you could shut it down, have maintenance fix the machine, and then the operators like myself wouldn't have such a hard time keeping them running, and then production rates would increase. But instead, they'd much rather us burn ourselves out trying to run 2 machines and keep them running as long as possible instead of fixing them.
Yeah. It's that mindset.
We can't stop. We have to have production.
But I think in that situation, that's more of like a physical health hazard. I mean, don't get me wrong, like crunch culture is a physical health hazard because it takes a toll on your body. You're not able to get restful restorative sleep. You're not getting what you need as a human being to be functional, fully functional. You can be functional, but
It's kind of like studying for finals in school. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Cram as much as you can get in. Hope for the best.
I hated doing that.
Maybe that's why they do it, to prepare you for crunch in the working world.
There you go. They've normalized it, and we didn't even see it until now. We've covered the conspiracy down with higher education. Fuck you all.
And they also
Brains, who
opened up
needs to brain?
gyms. They also opened up gyms like Crunch Fitness.
Oh no.
Gotta crunch in and
no.
exercise.
Well,
On the
No.
treadmill studying. Oh no.
Turn into little gerbils. Keep running. Rah!
yeah. On the same vein that Crit was talking about with Nintendo and whatnot, they're back in the spotlight again. They're also guilty of crunch. But let's talk about what's going on with Nintendo now. Have you ever heard of a channel called DidYouKnowGaming?
Yes.
Not
So-
until recently, and not for any good reason.
Well, I love the history of video games. I've had a controller or a joystick in my hand since I was 2, and that was a long time ago. Where like it was like below 8-bit graphics. It was terrible. So they did they're a documentary channel, DidYouKnowGaming, right? They take and they journal. They do a journalist perspective on all of the old hardware, concepts, and things. And they've done hundreds and hundreds of videos, and plenty on Nintendo alone. But apparently, they did one on a titled game called Heroes of Hyrule that was supposed to be released for the Nintendo DS. It was kind of Zelda Tactics, or Final Fantasy Tactics, if you're more familiar with that. It's a tactical-based type game. And it was a failed 2004 pitch, and Nintendo gave them a copyright strike. So, for those of you that do YouTube or have done YouTube, do you know what a copyright strike does?
Yippers. Basically, a copyright strike will put you one step closer to not having a YouTube channel anymore. You get 3 of them, and your third strike is gone. That is much worse than a content ID claim. Content ID claim just takes all your money and says you can't have it, whereas a copyright strike is kind of like a DMCA takedown notice. They don't fuck around, you find out.
It also causes massive anxiety for bullshit like this.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, no, like that's a huge deal. And Nintendo's throwing their weight around. And for as many videos as they've done on Nintendo and their hardware and their software and things like this, why did this one actually cause them to give a copyright strike? I mean, this thing was never released. Everything is in the public domain, along with the 22-page pitch that they had. And that was from the company Retro, I believe, where they pitched this to Nintendo, and they straight shot a bullet through DidYouKnowGaming. And I believe it was Dr. Lava was the one that was tweeting about it, the actual contributor to DidYouKnowGaming for this particular item. So it's absolutely devastating. So Nintendo, like we've talked about this, gosh, since the inception of this podcast on how terrible they are with the content creators. And we've told campfire stories of all the garbage that they did with their Nintendo partnership program, where they tried to take 50 to, what was it, 75%? I forgot. It was some ridiculous percent of the cut you got from YouTube. So
Yeah. Nintendo is essentially taking the old Microsoft Internet Explorer method of doing things, or the recording industry method of doing things. Like, they just... It's exhausting to see just how they keep making the same mistake over and over and over. It's like, do you not learn from your own stupidity, or no?
No,
Or
you
you
said
just, like,
something bad
incapable?
about one of our games or consoles? Bad.
well, it's not even
Yeah.
bad. It was a journalistic look. It's like watching, I don't know, National Geographic for video games.
There was rather famous DMCA takedown notice slash copyright strike taken out against the late Total Biscuit because he dared criticize a game that was so poorly made you could clip through what was supposed to be solid objects. You could walk up to NPCs that would normally have been programmed to arrest you on sight and just stare at them. And they wouldn't do anything. They just stood there. And when he highlighted how shitty this game was, the studio turned around, tried filing a DMCA takedown notice against him, then went as far as getting all the fans on the official Steam page to start reporting its channel in the hopes it would get shut down as well. It's like, that is beyond trashy behavior.
So I suppose the real question is like, what as a community of gamers can we really do to actually do anything about this? We literally can't. Don't get me wrong. Like, we could scream, hop up and down and whatnot. I know that the DidYouKnowGaming fan base has lit Nintendo on fire, but I don't think they really care.
Bad press is usually the best thing to use against a studio if you're not willing and or able, for whatever reason, to not purchase their product. Then as much bad press is your best bet. And I get it. Some people want to continue playing a video game, even if the studio has been notorious for doing bad shit, because you might have friends that play it. You might want to just be supporting the developers or whatever. I get that. That's to each their own. But that's basically our only two options as consumers: is either not give them our money, or give them such bad press and drag them through the coals that badly that they're forced to make a statement and change their tune. But yeah, you're right. We are very limited in what we can do as consumers.
Yep. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. We've seen a lot of turnaround from, and mind you, this is also a bad way to think about it, because we've seen somebody say the wrong thing. We saw it with the Bayonetta fiasco, where the Bayonetta voice actress was all, oh, they didn't pay me enough, and tried to light their studio on fire. And mind you, their lead developer or whoever it was that was a big xenophobe didn't respond well to that. But it turned out that
fucking clown that one as well.
Yeah,
he's got me blocked on Twitter now, which is fantastic.
Oh, nice. Well,
yeah, if
did
you don't
ever
speak
get
English,
unbanned?
What's that?
Did you ever get unbanned from Twitter?
Oh yeah, no, I'm good. It was only a 7-day timeout.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a couple people have been spouting out some really atrocious things. Are still serving timeouts that have exceeded 1 week, so that's promising. Like, when you start getting into the racist shit, I start really reporting your crap.
Yeah.
I won't name names, but suffice to say, there's one less racist on Twitter.
Very nice. Yeah, I don't even know why that's even a thing now. I mean, it's terrible that it exists, and that's a different topic altogether.
Small PP syndrome.
Small PP syndrome. Maybe. So yeah. There we go. Nintendo has done Nintendo things again. Nintendo bad.
It's not that they're bad, they're just dumb as fuck.
And they're slow. Holy crap, are they slow? Like, I'm starving for another Metroid game. Like, what the actual hell? Like, I got another Smash game. They're slowly trickling out all the Mario Kart 8 stuff. Their first-party title software is what's carrying them through because they're iconic, and I can't get enough of it. And they do stuff like this. I can't support it. I don't know what to think about this, to be quite honest. I mean, because somewhere what they've done with their hardware is smart. They've allowed children to play video games with stuff that is almost indestructible. The Nokia of the console world, I should say.
Which console?
Well, any of them, really. I mean, think about the old Game Boy, or the DS.
Yeah.
Or the 3DS, or the GameCube. You could take a GameCube and launch it across the room, and it had no effect on the hardware.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you how many times I must have dropped my Game Boy.
I wonder if they added that handle on the back of the GameCube just for that purpose.
You could use it in a trebuchet.
Right. And mind you, this is also just a small stain on them as a reputation, but as a company as a whole, like they're slow to implement things. They're very traditional. They don't. They it takes so long to get things to places, and it's frustrating to see it. And I hate seeing them so far behind, but their hardware is solid. I can't think of a single time where I've seen hardware errors with Nintendo, except for the Joy-Cons. Their Joy-Cons need to be fixed. I can't think of a single place where their hardware was not solid for what it was supposed to do. But yet, we have stupid shit like this against people in their community, documenting history, trying to expunge it from the record books. Whatever this may be.
I think that's the worst part is they're just trying to record game history. Like, we sit here and we think, it's common sense. Like you'd think you'd want to have people record your game and its history, and here they are doing everything possible to prevent that. But like I said, that just goes on par with what Nintendo does and what the recording industry did with MP3s and what Microsoft did with Netscape and all that stuff. Like, if the internet's gonna be fat, or people don't need historians, well, screw you. There's a lot of value in that to see how far the games industry has come. I mean, sure, it'll show you where the games industry still has to go, but just the fact that we've come so far over so many years is pretty phenomenal if you think about it.
Absolutely. Incredible stuff. But they certainly don't deserve an award. But there was an award show this week.
Uh-huh. That was a little awkward.
What, the transition?
Well, no, not only that, but also what happened at the award ceremony.
Oh, man.
Did you see what happened with the Elden Ring guys?
Oh, I heard about it, but hey, let's hear it.
I watched it. Holy shit. It's just cringe. So for those of you who don't know, Elden Ring got an award at the Video Game Awards this past week. And after their acceptance speech, somebody got up on stage rather quickly and basically said they wanted to save or thank their rabbi, Bill Clinton. Yes, Bill Clinton was their rabbi, allegedly. And then there was a bunch of other, like, just memey, dumb shit the guy was saying. And it was funny because security, you know, basically was like, "Oh, I guess it's okay." So it's like, why did you not run after the guy right away? Like, why did you let him up there for so long? Like, he talked for like a good 2 or 3 minutes before security was like, "Oh, I guess we got to take you in now and arrest you." It was just really, really awkward watching that whole thing. The dude's speech, mock speech, meme speech was just, it was just awkward. It was certainly a thing. And then on top of that, I did see a tweet this week, actually today, about how the independent game devs were getting maybe like 5 seconds worth of acknowledgement and then being kicked off the stage right away.
No.
That's all kinds of shitty. But yeah, no, apparently that happened. So I'm trying to find a little bit more info on it. I've got a few people who are tweeting that out on Twitter, so I'll have to go find an unedited version of the Game Awards. So right now, you and I, Bomb, get to do a whole bunch of chatting because two people have some technical difficulties going on right now.
Oh,
It's
no.
just you and I for the moment.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, so they'll be back, when the technical difficulties stop.
Fantastic. Well, I
Yeah.
can't see any of our current topics, so I don't really know.
Well, basically, our last topic for the evening is the Video Game Awards, and the big
I
thing
did
I
not
saw
watch that.
was, yeah, like the big thing was there was a bunch of new games coming out. I'm kind of excited for none of them actually. I did. Well, no, that's a lie. I did pick up Ixiom and that thing's been a fairly okay game. It's not an easy game. It's sort of like what is it, Frostpunk, but in space and on way more steroids.
Huh.
Yeah, it's not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm currently running through my base trying to figure out how to re-optimize the whole damn thing because it's certainly a thing. It's kind of messed up, and I definitely need to get that sorted out at some point because that thing's just falling apart at this point.
Gotcha.
Which game
Otherwise,
is
there
this?
was Ixiom, that new Earth building or space station city survival thing.
Oh yeah. Who was it? Was it Splattercat Gaming did something on that? I remember seeing the trailer for it going, oh, this looks neat. And it certainly is neat. So you're going derelict?
Yeah, it's basically like a space station. It's all busted, and it's your job to try and fix it, while not pissing off all the residents of said space station.
That sounds right up my alley. It has space and station.
Yeah, if you take a
Yeah,
look
but
at
it's
the
not.
news discussion channel, you'll actually see the video for Splattercat doing it, and the trailer's also inside of what was it, Game Press releases.
Ooh, I shall check that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kurt Chicken will be back when she can. She has technical difficulties as well tonight.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all we have left now is for me to go down with technical difficulties, and we'll have 4 for 4.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. So this kid, I missed most of it because I had something happen. I had to go take care of real quick. Did you do any further research on him?
No, other than rewatching his speech thanking his rabbi Bill Clinton. Just
Oh, the kid who
it's
interrupted?
yeah, it's just beyond cringe.
Well, it's interesting because this isn't his first rodeo. He's actually been on InfoWars.
Oh, that
Oh,
says everything I need to know right
Well,
there. I got it.
he was also, I think, at BlizzCon one year. He was also the one that stood up and walked across and said "Free Hong Kong" or "A Fight for Hong Kong."
See, that's acceptable. Being on InfoWars is not.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So, I mean, it's not his first round. He's more of an activist, and is a lot of shock value. But he's been on InfoWars like twice. He was at BlizzCon. There was another place he was. His name was Mattel, I believe. I don't have that stuff up anymore because saving resources because streaming. So
All
Yes.
of you people need to get systems with 64 gigs of RAM minimum.
yeah,
Yes.
I think that might
Join
be
the
a thing.
crew.
I bet you I
I'm
could do it
already
with
in
this
it.
laptop. Maybe.
I'm
Just
I'm already in
download
that
RAM.
club. Absolutely.
Download
Then download and install Google. And you're fine.
from ZDNet or
Yes.
or Two Cows.
I feel like strong bad.
Oh, Strong Bad, Homestar Runner.
Nate was talking
OnStar.
to me about some way that he managed to do it utilizing Google Cloud Storage. Like he legitimately downloaded RAM.
Yeah, I'm sorry
You're
about
not
that.
going to want to do it for anything that requires speed, but you can do it.
Well, yeah, that's like L6 caching, I think, because we've got. Well, I mean, think about it. You got L1 through, I think, 3 caching directly on the chip. I know L1 and L2 was a thing for a while. I've been out of like reading up on chips and whatnot, and that's the memory that is like ridiculous. It's closest to the CPU. That's where it changes out its registers. It's very limited. And whatnot. L3 is your RAM, L3/4 is your RAM sticks. 5 would be your disks, and it goes up in speed after that. And so we go from like microseconds. Oh no, it's picoseconds to nanoseconds to milliseconds, which is orders of magnitude slower. But yeah, I can't imagine downloading more RAM in that sense. It's like
My son found out what teraflops are.
Ooh. I don't even know what a teraflop is. I hadn't read up on it. I know it's an interesting word.
It's the number of calculations a video card can do for math, or a fancy type of math calculation.
Oh, okay. Cool. So it's like Fahrenheit or Celsius. Perfect.
No.
Like freedom fractions. Yay.
It's studying for later for sure. So, yeah. Out of that, you said you watched the Game Awards. What was your other than the kid? Did you see any games that looked interesting?
No,
No.
not for me. No, I don't know. It's really lackluster. Other than Ixiom, nothing really interested in me.
Are they ever?
Hmm?
Are they ever gonna bring back like a Twisted Metal? Maybe.
Oh, that'd be neat.
Oh, that would be so fun.
That was like my favorite game back in the day.
Well, I know that they're doing Armored Core. That looks really.
There was a Demolition Derby game with an open world story. And mini games and stuff. I can't remember the name of it, but I saw an advertisement for it on mobile not too long ago, which really surprised me. It was Wreckfest or something like that.
It's like even with the Xbox, my son's like, there's not a lot of games I seem to like on there. Like I see, I don't know if it's Xbox. Yeah, it's the Xbox that has that racing game, Forza, something like that. It's like that's a game I'll play, but he's like Call of Duty, no. This, no. The racing one, yeah, sure.
It's interesting. Forza actually places itself as a driving simulator, not necessarily a racing game. You happen to race in it, but it's meant more to feel like you're driving the car without being in the car. So you get all the handling and all the tuning and everything else.
Oh, cool. So it's like
nowhere
driver
near simulator. I don't know why they call. Oh, well, it depends on which one it is.
driving instructor simulator for kids, right? Gotcha.
Does he play Horizons or Forza?
He doesn't play yet. I just got the game anyway, or the console. But I think right now he's playing games that involve like building cars and stuff like that and racing them.
Oh, neat.
That'll be fun.
I checked out his like internet history and just like trying to fix cars and games and stuff like that, and I'm just like, what are you doing? He's like, yeah, I think I want to take this to IRL and start building cars. I'm like, no.
Car nerd.
It's a good path.
Well, you already saw what he did to the CPU, Amy. Destroy, build, destroy.
Okay, let's hear about that.
No, let's not make me cry again.
Do it.
My son joked around by destroying one of his CPUs by saying it's ASMR. I was like, fuck no. Stop.
What?
Oh, is that where they like take the butter knife and scrape off the gold pins?
He mashed it.
No, he smashed it with a hammer.
Oh
no!
On the pins and just flattened them, and it made me cry inside and die inside.
He's like, the eternal barcode is not pleased.
Oh, those aren't cheap. My wallet feels it. Ugh.
Yeah, that's like his second CPU.
Well, I found Armored Core, Death Stranding 2, because, like I said, I kind of want to really get my hands on that one. And there was something in there that was almost like a Spirited Away simulator, kind of. It looked very Animal Crossing-ish, but it was called Spirity. I think that was there. I see so many releases, it's not even funny, so... But that one looks really interesting. It looks like you're running a tea house, kind of like what if you're not familiar with Hayao Miyazaki's works. Spirited Away was one of his most highly acclaimed animations from Studio Ghibli, and they run a spirit tea house. It looks like, and I am all about it. Like one of the visuals that they had was a dragon in a bathtub. Or not a bathtub. It was like like an outdoor spring.
Hot tub?
Well, kind of. It's kind
of hot spring.
Spring, yeah. Like a hot spring, and it was like smiling, and you're like serving, and they've got stack up towels, and I don't know. It looked interesting to me. I'm really big into those type of simulator games that have an interesting depth to them, not a serious depth to them. If that makes any sense.
Hey, anything is better than the Facebook ads I usually get for like, what is it, the beehive, and you're supposed to draw around the character, and then somehow the bees knock over the line that you draw to save the character, and the people end up getting stung or whatever because you can't win that game. And I'm just like, no. Mobile apps, no. And then you have someone from Blizzard in the background saying, "You guys have cell phones, right?" Because I think that was their little spin on Diablo, and now they're like, "Hey, pre-order it now. Hee hee. Get a mount."
I don't know.
I don't know if I'm going to get that thing. It's interesting, but I don't know if I like the idea of having 4 heads and 5 mouths.
4 heads and 5 mouths.
Yeah, there's an additional mouth on the side of the Cerberus thing.
Huh.
Yeah, like cringe.
Slightly, yes.
Well. So Armored Core, the only reason why I'm excited for that is it's by FromSoft. And everybody knows FromSoft. The Soul series, Elden Ring, and this is like Armored Core 6 or 4. I can't remember. I think it's like 6. But it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to get my hands on it because they did do quite a bit with their previous titles. So I'm really curious of what they're going to do with this one. And I'm all for it. And this is on top of waiting for the new Elden Ring DLC. And that's also going to be amazing.
Yep. That might be interesting.
I didn't watch the Game Awards. Was there anything about Kerbal Space Program?
Not that I know of. I didn't watch them either, but I've been trying to find stuff on it, like as far as the games that represented it. I didn't see anything. I could have missed it, but I didn't see anything.
You're talking about Kerbal too?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, it got pushed back. As far as I know, it's not going to be released until sometime, hopefully Q1 next year.
Hopefully. Well, hopefully they don't have to crunch to do any of that.
Yeah, hopefully.
So. All right.
That's probably the only game that I'm waiting on.
Okay. Conversation's kind of petering out. What do you say we... Well, no, I mean, we were just sitting there running on fumes, and I could feel it. I'm not afraid to call it out. I mean... It's fine.
It happens. I mean, some weeks are more exciting than others, and this happens to be one of those weeks where it's like,
Well, most of it was dominated by Game Awards.
Yeah, and they're just... it just felt lackluster this year.
Trying to crunch it into one segment, huh?
Yeah,
Oh.
pretty much.
Gross.
This is our crunch. We're like, I gotta make it to 11, 20, and here we are. Okay, so.
Oh, that sounded so depressing.
Yeah, well, that's what you do. That's why I was like, oh, tangents. Let's go tangents. So, Amy, what do you got going on?
This week, I don't know. Probably gonna play some Ixiom. Probably finish up leveling my stuff in WoW. But otherwise, not a whole lot. Yourself?
Yep.
Yep.
Wow. That's certainly an answer.
And also an expansion. Haha. Oh.
Boo.
Boo.
Yeah, I'll answer a bit more verbose here at the end. Crit, what do you got?
Well, I get to pick up a quote unquote Xbox X on Wednesday. That isn't totally a PlayStation 5. Let's see. I might play a little bit of WoW, and then I'm helping deliver presents for all the good little boys and girls this year for Christmas through peak season. So I look forward to that and not, screaming at my coworkers for stupid stuff. And also fawning over puppies, because apparently I found a website that, yeah.
Should we call you Crit Kringle?
Oh, fuck.
Well, she works for Santa's on.
Ooh.
The groans.
Talk about being in a coal mine.
All right, my explosive
Yeah.
friend. Mr. Bomber Deemer, what do you got going on this next week?
Working, and then coming home and sleeping and working.
That sounds legit.
Really, I've got nothing going on.
Any plans on streaming? I noticed you were doing Terraformers for a while, but
When I have the energy,
I guess you can say Bomb's candle is burning on both ends.
Oh.
Da 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 da.
Boo! Good God.
so
I
what?
mean, it's good. You laughed.
Ah,
Smiley face.
facepalm.
So what am I doing? As soon as things at work calm down, such as Bomber Dreamer was saying, this is definitely the season for lots of work. I have been trying to get my WoW back in gear and understand all the new acronyms and things. Like, I don't ever remember doing anything called a Mythic or a Mythic Plus. Like, it doesn't compute with me at all.
I mean, they're just mythic dungeons, but like turbo hard.
Well, Mythic Zero at least isn't that bad. It's just a step up from like, heroics or whatever. So
See, I don't know any of that. I wasn't around when that thing was introduced. I think it was, when was that introduced? I came because I played a little bit in Legion.
Legion a little bit. I think the Legion was kind of an introduction, and then BFA kind of like had let's see, more of the modifiers, I guess.
Yeah, it was definitely brought in Legion. What was funny was during BFA, Torghast was essentially just doing riffs and greater riffs in Diablo 3.
Really?
Yeah, because you could do them over and over and over, and they would get progressively harder and harder. But it was just basically doing a rift or just doing greater rift.
Yeah, it was, and also apparently now that you're level 70, you can go through Torghast because Torghast doesn't scale. So you can have like level 300 eye level or whatever, and you'd be like, oh, I can go farm mounts now, easy peasy. What?
Really?
Yeah, they didn't scale Torghast, so you're good to go with that one. And that, and I don't know if they actually fixed the mythic dungeons from Legion with Tomb of Sargeras yet, but we'll see what happens with that. Because I remember trying to solo that stuff last expansion. It was hard to do. But other than that, like, yeah, there's certain, I'd say read up on that kind of stuff. I'd say also go in as a DPS with that kind of stuff to actually see how things work. Because you don't want to be, I don't know how the modifiers this time around, if it's the same as, BFA and whatnot. But I remember getting pissed off as a healer when quaking happened. And also when the tanks didn't properly do stuff with Sanguine. There's a lot of modifiers for the Mythic Pluses that will actually get you pissed the fuck.
Well, judging by the way that all of my tanks are tanking and killing the entire team except themselves, they're unstoppable. I think they only got queued up for the dungeon just so that they could do it themselves. It's terrifying. So that's also going to be like learning how an evoker preservation healer works. And so far, it's a lot of AoE and a lot of flowers and a lot of sparkles. And
So what you're saying is I should probably level a tank and just go at your own pace.
yeah, actually, I would love to have a tank, but
I'm just trying to figure out what I want to, because I'm hearing Prot is pretty good. I might re-roll my little fox person into a warrior. But I don't know if you want a little yiffy person actually running around being like, hey, I got this.
I don't care. If you can soak up the damage, I'll heal it back up. That's all I give a crap about. That's what it's about, right?
It's like that little picture that I posted in the Game Junkies Discord of the dog with cocaine.
And then I still need to unlock the alternate races for the Horde, so that's a thing I need to do. But
I unlocked everything.
other
They made
than-
it easier. They did make it easier because you don't have to do the rep grinding.
Oh, good. Good. So I just have to go beat down their door and like, come join the Horde. And they're like, okay. And I can play one because I really would love to like do something with some of the new folks.
The worst you have to do is probably do the entire quest line for the Nightborn. But other than that, they dumbed it down pretty simple for, other stuff, like doing the storylines. Just do the storylines for the most part.
Okay, well, hopefully I can walk in and do it and not have to do the entire expansion's worth of quests to get there.
Probably not every side quest, but probably the main storyline.
Fine.
Yeah, but at least it goes towards the mount.
The mount?
Yeah, if you do the BFA stuff, you actually can get technically 2 mounts. You can get a wolf with a sword on the lion side and a horse just in horde armor on the horde side. So it's called the 2 sides of every tale.
Oh, neat. Okay. So yeah, unlocking those things. I'm going to continue working with the barcode to try to get our Discord server.
Yeah, there's a little bit of changes we got to make. Just so we're going to adjust the permissioning so it's a little bit easier to wander around here. So it'll be fun.
Yep.
People might start seeing channels coming and going every now and then. That's just me.
You see nothing.
One allied race I wouldn't recommend. I don't know if it's for you or not, but the mecha gnomes. I know they mentioned that they were like diaper gnomes, but yeah, I can't. I tried logging in as one, and I'm just like, no, gross, no, stop.
Well, it should be fun. Either way, so yeah, Discord server, more podcast stuff. Bob's your uncle, and that's it. That's all I've got. Work's got me so burnt out, and I don't have anything else to say. So I think that was a good time to end the podcast. So, with
Right
that,
as I say, I'm like, no, please, no, stop. End podcast, no.
well, either way, everybody, thanks for watching. Please feel free to join the Discord server. I'm not locking it behind subscriptions because that's silly. I want everyone to have fun and participate and just have a good time. Join the discussions. You too can offer informed and uninformed opinions. So,
Yay.
So long, chat.
so
Bye-bye.
So
Bye.
long, farewell.
Thanks for all the
Auf
fish.
Wiedersehen, goodbye.